Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco. I'm an integrative physician, a pediatrician, and a cranial osteopath. And welcome to the MultiDimensional MD podcast. Every week, I will sit and meditate on a topic to go over and see what's going on in my life and around me in my practice and my patients' lives. And I also listen to what questions people are asking me and what you're interested in. So I've been having more questions on breath work and how to get started with that. So I thought that today I would do a primer on breath work and include 4 easy breathing exercises that you can use now. So, this is an excerpt from my upcoming book, I Am Intuitive, a multidimensional guide to embrace your inner light. So, you get a sneak preview of that. We'll be releasing sometime this spring. So, as always, my mission is to bring the intuitive aspects of health back to medicine in practical and tangible ways so that you can access deeper healing and experience more peace, love, and joy in your everyday lives. So, what I'm going to go over today is some common breathing patterns when stressed and what breathing in your nervous system have in common and how you can access that. And then we're going to go through 4 exercises for breathing, and we're going to keep it really simple. So these are breathing exercises that you can do even if you've never meditated before, if you don't know what breath work is, and again, this is meant to be a primer. So the first thing is common breathing patterns when stressed. So anytime we're stressed, there's always some tension built up in the body, and this will show up in our breathing, but it can show up in various patterns for different people. So these are common patterns that I'll see in people when they're stressed, and I'll notice in myself as well. So it's a practice of developing self-awareness, and so you can check and see if you have any of these breathing patterns now. So the first one is holding the breath. Anytime you are stressed, there is a tendency to hold the breath, to not move it as freely, not a relaxed breathing. And this can be because there are overwhelming emotions, overwhelming sensory input, just things going on in the world, and it's difficult for us to deal with. And so there's a tendency for our subconscious patterns, or even consciously, to try to contain it. If I don't breathe this in, maybe it's not really happening, or maybe I won't have to deal with it fully. It is a way of like partially numbing out because you're not going to be getting that full oxygen exchange with more relaxed breathing. But that is the most common thing, is to start holding your breath. And then I'll see some shallow breathing. So this is when you're breathing higher in your chest. There doesn't seem to be as much depth in the breathing, so you're not getting that abdominal breathing, the diaphragm moving as freely, and that goes hand in hand with holding your breath. So there can be many different types of breathing, but a small breath can still be efficient and have good flow if it is a relaxed breathing. So there are small breath movements that can still be very efficient. But when you're stressed, the small, shallow breath movements tend to be under tension. So they're not efficiently exchanging oxygen. And anyone that I've seen that has shallow breathing has a lot of tension in their body. So if that's the case, then you can practice some nice, slow, deep breathing, and we will go through various ways to do that. So the third type of stress pattern that I see in the breathing is breathing fast, even at rest. So this is a kind of hyperventilating, and it can be shallow. It can be you're just blowing off CO2. So it will impact the balance, the acid alkaline balance in your body. And an increased respiratory rate is a natural response to stress, because if you are needing to prepare for a fight or flight mode, say you need to run, you need to flee, then you need your breath to start moving. However, if you're chronically stressed, then then you're going to be blowing off too much carbon dioxide, which will make your body more acidic and can lead to feelings of dizziness, fatigue, and confusion. And you can see how that cycle just starts to self-perpetuate itself. So, and the acidic state will also create more inflammation in the body and lead to more tension and more stress. So you can see it goes on and on. So this is why I'm doing this primer, so that you can develop more self-awareness and to break these patterns and create more relaxed, harmonious new patterns. So, and it's a normal state of being to be relaxed. It's a relaxed strength is much stronger than a tense strength. So again, you see if you can slow down your breathing. Slow, gentle breathing is going to be the theme here. The fourth kind of stress pattern I see in breathing is a forced deep breathing. So this is common when you're new to breath work and you know that you need to move your breath, but there is a force to it. So it's somewhat mechanical. It doesn't feel natural. And I remember when I first started doing yoga and Tai Chi, and they were teaching me breath work. The guy kind of chuckled. He was like, "Oh," he's like, "it's so mechanical, like kind of robotic." Because I was like, deep breath in, deep breath out, deep breath in, deep breath out at a slower pace. But there was just this kind of piston, like machine-like movement to it. It wasn't as relaxed as it could be. So there's a difference in gentle deep breathing versus forced deep breathing. And I like to include the stories of when I learned it, because hey, we have to start somewhere. And but if I bring up some of these nuances of what might be like little stumbling blocks along the way, then they can become stepping stones for you, because it's like, hey, this is how it might feel, but then you can do things to help smooth that out. So when we are grounded, breathing has an ease to its rhythm. There's no forced inhalation or exhalation, and the rate is calm. So it can help us feel more at ease, more at peace. You can think better. Your blood pressure is more even. You're not having like the fluctuation, like high blood pressure, low blood pressure, and same thing with your pulse, your heart rate. So when you're stressed, again, the tendency is for heart rate to go up, but sometimes you can also have some autonomic imbalances. It can fluctuate, goes up and down too much out of norm. There is a normal variation that's good. So, and then the next I want to talk about is breathing in your nervous system. So breathing, it does not have to be under conscious control. It is run by your autonomic nervous system. And but you can have conscious control over it. So it's an interesting overlap and integration of your consciousness and how you consciously can control your body and how your body automatically functions. And in general, we can think of the inhalation, that in-breath, as representing the sympathetic nervous system. So when you need to run, you need more oxygen. So you're taking in that breath to get you prepared for movement. And then exhalation, we can think about that, the out-breath, as representing the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's your rest and digest. So sympathetic is fight or flight. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. So inhalation, sympathetic; exhalation is parasympathetic. With your sympathetic, you get an increased heart rate. With your parasympathetic, you get a decreased heart rate. So sympathetics tend to be energizing, and parasympathetics tend to be calming. So when we have a balance in the autonomic nervous system, then we have a balance to the sympathetics and the parasympathetics. So we can actually use our consciousness to help smooth out the autonomic nervous system. So if you have any imbalances in your autonomic nervous system, then breath work is something that you can do, and you can do regularly, and it doesn't take long at all. So one of the first exercises that I tell people when, if you're new to breathwork, is just to bring your awareness to your breathing. Because as soon as you start to bring your awareness to your breathing, it will start to shift automatically. You don't even have to try to do anything about it. Just being that loving, gentle, neutral witness to your breathing can help smooth it out on its own. So just if that's all you did was take a moment, even a few minutes, to bring your awareness to your breathing, it can help to settle the mind that wants to go, go, go. You give it a job, you give it something to do, and that is to have a meta awareness. So it's you turning around, looking at yourself. And anytime you are able to witness your own self, you're basically being present with yourself. And that feels so loving and nourishing. It's the same thing that any of our kids ask us to do. It's like to be able to sit with them, to be able to be present with them, to pay attention to them without being distracted by the to-do list, by the phone, by the emails. And I know too with the 4 kids, so I have so much practice with that too. But there's also so many things to do that can be distracting. So you are going to practice a meta awareness with yourself by just shifting your attention to your breathing, and that creates a loving nest for yourself. And then I'm going to go through these 4 different exercises. So the first one is the long exhale. And this is a nice, simple breathing exercise to do. Singers are aware of it because they need to be able to have that long exhale to carry out a note. And as you exhale, the diaphragm is relaxing and your parasympathetics have a boost. So when we're stressed, commonly the sympathetics are revved up and buzzing, and we need more support for the parasympathetic nervous system. That's not for every state, but this is a very common thing that people need. So if you just made the exhale at least twice as long as the inhale, then that would be supportive to your calming response, your parasympathetics. So I've told all people of all ages to use this. And then one kid, a teenager, said that they started using it before their sports competitions because it helped them. I had taught them, they were just getting anxious about competition. I mean, performance anxiety. It's very common. Adults have it too. So they just took that nice long exhale. Even 4 breaths like that can change you remarkably. And so you can try it right now. So maybe we'll try each of these exercises one by one. So just taking a nice slow inhale and then exhale twice as long. As if you're holding this long singer's note. So you can just pretend you're a singer. Let's do it a couple more times. So slow inhale, long exhale, like you're singing a long note. And one more time. Slow inhale. And then a nice long exhale. I can feel that as I'm doing it with you, and it just brings that extra bit of calm. So it's really so easy. So, I mean, we just did it a few times, and that took hardly any time at all and can add that extra smoothness to your nervous system. So the next one we're going to go over is belly breathing. So if you notice little kids, the way they breathe and the way they stand too is like nice and tall. They kind of stand like shoulders right over their hips. And when they breathe, their belly just moves freely. And adults, they tend to not breathe like that as much as the kids do. Sometimes it's more just the vanity of maybe you're trying to like suck in your belly, or you're just holding your breath because of stress and those stress patterns that I talked about with breathing before. So with belly breathing, we're going to do a nice, slow, gentle breathing, not forced, but we're going to focus our awareness to have the belly go out as we inhale. So it helps that diaphragm go down. The diaphragm is a muscle right underneath the lungs, and it will flatten as you inhale, and the belly will come out as you inhale. And then when you exhale, you just relax because the diaphragm will relax and come back up into this dome-shaped position, and your belly will go in as you exhale. And then at the very end of the exhale, I like to ask people to just see if they can let go a little bit more. You don't have to really force it, but just see if there's that little bit extra that would like to go out. Because as you exhale, then your diaphragm is relaxing, so it's more relaxed position, and you're actually teaching your lungs to work more efficiently. So your diaphragm is much more relaxed, and it will create more of a dome shape, so that each side of the diaphragm creates this dome. So when you inhale, it flattens and comes down, and then when you exhale, it comes up and then relaxes. So this is a relaxed position. And this can help with oxygen exchange, with getting that stagnant air out of your lungs. So let's do a few like that. So when you breathe in, your belly's going to go out. You can put your hand on your belly, and when you breathe out, your belly's going to go in. So sometimes when you're stressed, see the chest tends to puff up. So this belly breathing emphasizes breathing deeper down into your belly. So do a few more like that. So when you breathe in, belly goes out. And then when you breathe out, just relax. And the belly goes back in. So instead of puffing in like this, more emphasizing the chest breathing, you're emphasizing the belly breathing. So a few more like that. Belly in. When you breathe in, belly goes out, and then breathe out. Belly goes in. Breathe in. Belly goes out. And breathe out. Belly goes in. One more time. Breathe in. And then out. And I'm putting one hand on my chest and one hand on my belly just to bring awareness there, and it helps you pay more attention because your mind will go where your hands are. And I mean, you can imagine if you were scrunched up like this and taking breaths, what that would feel like versus if you stood tall like a little kid or like a superhero, that relaxed strength, a relaxed confidence, and that breath would naturally fill in the belly more. So if you're finding yourself puffing up in the chest and having this kind of like chest outward stance with belly sucked in, then see if you can practice some belly breathing to add more movement to your diaphragm, and so that you can get your lungs to work more efficiently. This will affect your physiology as well. So the third breathing exercise I'm going over today is called the space between breaths. And I love this because we don't always talk about the space between as often as the inhalation and the exhalation. So the space between is the space between the inhalation, exhalation at the top of the breath and at the bottom of the breath. And there is so much potential in that space. And I love potential because that is the wiggle room that we can expand into. And it's a very simple exercise. You just bring your gentle awareness to your breathing, give yourself some time to settle in, and you're just listening to your breath with your awareness. And then you listen to that space between breaths. And then let your awareness linger just a little bit longer to that top of the breath and that bottom of the breath. And then when you get that urge that your body naturally wants to move to the next part of the breathing, then you let it. So it's a nice, gentle, like sitting, breathing meditation. So let's try that now. So you'll just bring your gentle awareness to your breath. And then as you inhale, let your awareness linger at the top of the breath. And let it stay there for moments until you feel like exhaling. At the bottom of the breath, same thing. Let your awareness linger there just a little bit longer until your body tells you it naturally wants to take an in-breath. And then you do that for a couple more times. So awareness at the top of the breath, and let it stay there until your breath wants to naturally exhale. And then that awareness at the bottom of the breath, so much potential in that space between things. And you let it linger there until you naturally want to take an in-breath again. So it's neat now. This is the third exercise we've done, and you can start to feel the variation in them and see which one feels like it's most helpful for you. So here we're breathing into that potential, where we're letting our awareness linger on that potential. Potential is like wiggle room. It's what you haven't tapped into yet. So you can add life to that potential with your awareness. And since you're also paying attention to your breath, your body, you have that meta awareness. And when you have meta awareness, it's like this nice, beautiful nest for yourself to support yourself through anything. And then this last exercise that I wanted to go through, and these are all in my book in detail. So this, my book is called I Am Intuitive, a Multidimensional Guide to Embrace Your Inner Light. It will launch this spring. We are tidying up the last finishing touches, and I'm so looking forward to you seeing it because it's a really amazing book with so much content, so much of the easy homework that I give people on a day-to-day basis, and you're going to be able to get so much out of it. So this last one is called 99.999% space, because that's what you are. If we had to review of matter, the simplest review, we're made of atoms. Each atom has a central nucleus that contains protons and neutrons, and then the nucleus is surrounded by this electron cloud. And it's actually a potential electron cloud, and potential meaning what's possible. So it is not necessarily where the electrons are, because electrons are zipping about so quickly. You can't ever, as soon as you witness it, it's in a different spot. So you can't actually really catch exactly where it is. And that's why they call the electron cloud a potential electron cloud. It's in this space. This is where you potentially could find the electrons for the atom. So, and then because it's a cloud, there's so much space in it. Those electrons are so tiny compared to the cloud. If you were to imagine if the nucleus of the atom being the size of a pea, then the surrounding electron cloud would be the size of a baseball stadium. And then think about all of the atoms that make you up, make up all your cells. And then all that space. So that baseball stadium is mostly empty because the electron is so tiny compared to all of that potential space. And that's exactly where the wiggle room is. That's why I love talking about potential, because there is so much that we can move into and shift and change in that potential. And space is this neutral void until you fill it with something. So what can we fill it with? We can fill it with our awareness, our consciousness. And you can do that by breathing into it. So we can do that now. And I'm going to read this excerpt to you from my book. And then when you get the book, you can read it to yourself too. You could record yourself reading it, and you'll get that sound healing too, because you'll hear your own voice speaking back to you. So take a big breath and sigh it out. And then shake out any jitters and settle into your body. Then gently bring your breath to the space between things, the space between all your cells. So this is the space that your body occupies. This is the space that your being occupies. This can include the space around you, because it could include your biofield, your subtle energy body. And in this space is a neutrality of nothingness. There are no illusions in this space, only endless possibilities of you, because in this space, this is where your pure essence is. It is this omnipotential, this limitless potential from which all things arise. Nothing has been created yet in this space. So when you breathe in, you breathe into that space between your cells, that space between things, that space where your pure essence lives. And you appreciate the neutrality of this space, the loving, gentle awareness of this space. Just breathe it in. We get to create in this space. But first, it's to notice it. So you'll notice it with your awareness and with your breath. Breathe into the potential cloud space where the electrons aren't. So nothing is tugging at you in this space. Everything just is. So if you were just to breathe into that space between your cells, it's a very loving space where your essence lives, and your essence is a unique emanation of the oneness, the stillness, all that is. And so when you have that meta-awareness of your pure self, then it is so calming and relaxing, and you get to communicate with yourself. So with that meta-awareness, with your breath. And if you ignore your breathing, or if you ignore your body's messages, then they'll keep getting stronger until you to listen to them. So anytime you have symptoms, just take it as your reminder to listen to yourself, to cradle yourself, to pick yourself up, and do any of these breathing exercises to help ground you into your body, to help you be more present into your body. And I hope that those were helpful for you in some way. I did ad-lib a little bit, so I didn't completely read my book. I can't help ad-libbing. Thank you, Nomad. I'm really looking forward to you seeing it, and all of you. It's so helpful, and it's like everything in one place. So much of what I talk about in one place that you can use a reference book and go through over and over and over. And so if you have any questions on these breathing exercises, then please let me know. I would love to hear from you anywhere that you are in the world. And if you'd like to connect with me further, you can on Instagram at All Worlds Health, on Facebook, All Worlds Health and Pediatrics. And you can sign up for my e-love letters on my website, which is allworldshealth.com. And I love to hear from you always. Please like and subscribe, comment, let me know where you're from. And I do my best to get back to all the comments, and love to interact with all of you and connect with you in various ways. So remember, I believe in you, so I hope that you believe in you too. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and I'll see you next week on Wednesday, sometime in the middle of my day when I can fit it in, for another episode of the MultiDimensional MD. Take care. Bye.